What's going on, everyone? I'm just a typical, average American here today to react and learn about how Canadians measure things. I'm very glad to get around to this one because I have kind of conflicting reports about this. I thought Canadians and basically everyone outside of America used the metric system exclusively. Now I feel like I've heard Canada uses the metric system and the imperial system somewhat. The only thing I know for sure at this point is that Canada uses Celsius for temperature, and that's why I never know what the temperature is in Canada, and I never understand. That's at least I hope I'm correct about that, or else I don't even know what's going on anymore. But I'm very very interested and happy to finally get a little lesson like this. That's what this video it is. A little Canadian measurement lesson should be good for me. Get this out of the way. Learn what Canada is measuring everything in. Not miles, but something else, or inches, and temperature, and weights, and lengths, and all that great stuff. I'm quite interested, so let's take a look.
My name is Jen, and I am Canadian. And today, I'm going to teach you how Canadians measure things in
Okay.
English. In my opening sentence, you could hear me use both kilometers and pounds. Why? Because in Canada, we actually use both.
Ha! Okay. Okay. Wow. Okay. Good. Perfect. This is exactly what I was confused about. That's why none of it makes sense. Canada, what's going on? I mean, I appreciate that you're using pounds and I can understand that. I actually feel a bit of a stronger bond now with Canada and pounds. Very good. But this combination of imperial and metric units is quite interesting. And for someone like me, an American, it'd probably just be hard for me to remember which you use. So it's both good and bad for me at the same time.
Before the 1970s in Canada, the imperial system was used for measuring. However, quick note on imperial measurements. Canada used to use, and sometimes still does use, the British imperial way of measuring things.
Oh my gosh. I didn't know that. Canada used the imperial system like completely until 1970, not that long ago. Like, 50 years ago. Not that long ago. Canada was just like America, stuck in the Stone Age. At least that's sometimes how I think of it, because I do think the metric system is vastly superior, like from a mathematical standpoint, like it in multiples of 10 and all that. Whenever you have to take a science class in America, you do have to use metric units, and they force you to learn metric units. So I'm like aware of them, and I kind of remember them, and I just remember thinking how much sense it all makes doing things in metric. So that's so interesting. I didn't know that about Canada, that they used to be just like me. Wow.
Which uses the same words as the American imperial system, but the measurements are actually slightly different.
Oh, geez, right. So she's saying that Canada used the British imperial measurements, which is somehow different than the imperial measurements I know, just to add another layer of complexity to all this. Perfect.
So before the 1970s, you can imagine Canada and the US being neighbors and the biggest trading partners of each other, how
Yeah.
this could have become very confusing.
Yeah.
So, in the 1970s, the government of Canada decided to switch over to the metric system.
Wow. I've always thought, like, when is America going to do that? And I didn't know there was this example. Canada is this shining example of what America could do. Canada did it successfully. There's no excuse anymore. America could do it. We just have to bite the bullet and do it. Make the switch. Wow. I don't think it's going to happen.
Starting in the 70s, the metric system only was taught in schools. speed limit signs changed from miles per hour into kilometers per hour, and it was
Oh boy. Yeah, see, that's the thing. Changing the speed limit signs, that's very brave of Canada to do, and I think Canadians were more than ready for it. Americans, I don't know if we're ready to take that risk, that every American is gonna understand that that sign right there is no longer in miles per hour. That's in kilometers per hour, because that kind of changes the speed you're going just a little bit. Yeah, even for that reason, that would be enough to pretty much make sure it never happens in America, unfortunately.
expected that Canadians would quickly adapt to this new and better way of measuring things. However, that
Oh.
hasn't always been the case.
Oh.
In fact, when the metric system was first introduced in Canada, there was a lot of opposition to it.
Oh, opposition. I understand being slow to change. I think that's expected. But resistance, opposition to the metric system. Sounds like what would happen in America.
As a result, now most Canadians use both a mixture of the
Right.
British Imperial Measurement System and the metric system. For
Oh,
some measurements in
okay.
Canada, we will always use imperial or we will always use metric.
Wow.
While for other types of measurements, it depends on the generation of the person who you're talking to and where in
Oh.
Canada the person is from.
Oh my gosh, wow. It's a free-for-all. It's just a free-for-all. Depending on your age and location in Canada, you could be measuring your table salt for your for your favorite dish at home in pounds or kilograms or stones or whatever. That's very interesting, but at the same time makes a lot of sense because the change happened kind of recently. So there's lots of people who were born before Canada changed to the metric system, and lots of people now who are born after. Yeah, makes sense.
Which measurement system they will use. Let's take a look at some common ways that Canadians will measure things. First, let's start with distance. Distance means how far away something is.
Yeah.
When we are driving or running, we will measure distance based in kilometers
Okay.
or in meters.
Kilometers. See, that's a big one for me because I really wish I had a better idea in my mind of how long a kilometer is because so many places outside the US measure in kilometers. And whenever someone says something about a distance in kilometers, I don't have any picture in my mind of how far that is, which I think is not good. Is it like 2.2 miles? No, that's pounds to kilograms. See, let's do 1 mile. 1 mile to kilometers. Oh, 1.6. How am I going to remember 1.6? 1 mile is about 1.6 kilometers. Oh, 1 mile to kilometers. Yep. 1 to 1.6 ratio. Gosh, that's so random. All right, I'll try.
When we fill up our car at the gas station, we talk about how many kilometers per liter we can
Oh,
get
no.
from the gas at the gas
No,
station.
no, not kilometers per liter. It's not even kilometers per gallon. It's kilometers per liter. Oh, I'm in trouble.
The road signs for the speed limit are written in kilometers per hour.
Okay.
Height, on the other hand, meaning how tall something or someone is, can be measured in both centimeters or meters, depending on what you're talking about, or in feet and inches.
What?
The
What? Only when talking about height. Man. Well, there's Canadians out there who talk about height in inches and feet, and for that I thank you. And then you can also use meters and centimeters. Wow, so it's just a combination.
majority of Canadians, when talking about their personal height, usually tend to talk about their height in feet and inches.
Okay.
However,
Oh.
on our driver's license, our height is listed in centimeters.
Okay.
When you go to the doctor, they measure you in centimeters.
This is funny how distances are metric, but height, which is just a distance, call me crazy, but a distance from the ground to the top of your head, it can be in feet and inches. That's interesting.
An interesting point about this fact, though, is that a lot of younger people these days prefer to use centimeters rather than using feet and inches. Next, let's talk about weight.
Okay.
Weight means how heavy something is.
Yeah.
If a Canadian is measuring their personal weight, they will usually use pounds to discuss their weight.
Why is that? And then, are we about to say that sometimes Canadians measure weight in grams and kilograms? But if it's your body, it's suddenly pounds. This is this is very interesting to me. I feel like this is exactly the kind of phenomenons that would occur if America ever tried to make this same transition that Canada did.
However, if you're going to the grocery store and you want to buy meat or some kind of produce, usually the advertisements for the sale will advertise, $1 per pound, or only 35 cents per pound.
Okay.
However, when you look at the packaging of the meat, or when you actually look at your receipt from buying the produce, you are not charged by pound, you are charged by kilogram.
What? Oh my gosh. So basically Canadians just have to be very, very good at knowing all units of measurements, basically. That's what's happened. Or or you don't quite know exactly how many potatoes you're getting, and it's kind of a surprise.
So for official ways of measuring things, kilograms are actually what's used. Next, let's talk about volume. Volume means how much of something like a liquid that there is.
Okay.
When it comes to volume in Canada, it depends what you are measuring, which system is usually used by Canadians.
That is so funny. It just depends on what you're measuring. I mean, with the distance, it can depend on what distance you're measuring, your height or a distance to a place. And now it's depends on what liquid you're measuring, or okay.
If we're measuring gas for your car, I mentioned before that you will purchase gas in liters, not in the imperial system of gallons. Most Canadians, if they're following a recipe to make something, they will measure things in cups. Most of the time, I also use cups when I'm baking something.
Yeah, I guess cups are an imperial unit, right? Because cups go into quarts, which go into gallons, if I'm remembering my own system of measurement correctly. Whereas otherwise it'd be like in liters and milliliters and stuff. So baking in Canada and the US is roughly the same. Who knew?
But I can also use milliliters. For example, I know that 1 cup is the same as 250 milliliters. And most measuring cups like this one will have both cups and milliliter measurements written on them.
I'm not just learning about Canada today. I'm just learning about like measurements and stuff. This is great.
Canadians will measure milk in liters.
Milk.
In some places in Canada, when you go shopping, you can buy 4 liters of milk in a bag. So it's a big bag with 3 smaller bags inside.
Milk in a bag. Yes, not a bag, but a bag of milk. 4 liters. Okay, milk is in liters, gas is in liters. Baking stuff can be in cups. Okay.
If you are buying alcohol from the LCBO or the beer store, the liquor store, the alcohol bottles will be measured based on milliliters. How many
Okay.
milliliters are in that bottle or in that can of alcohol?
Okay.
However, if you go to a bar to drink alcohol and you want to order a beer, you will still ask for a pint of beer.
Oh, a pint. I forgot about pints. So, no, you're not asking for like 1,000 milliliter. Give me 1,000 milliliters of beer right now, bartender. No, that would be kind of fun to do that. A pint. Okay.
Now let's move on to temperature. When
Okay.
Canadians are talking about the temperature in terms of the weather, we will always use Celsius.
Yes.
A bright, warm, sunny day is maybe 31 degrees.
Okay.
A bitter, cold winter day is maybe -3 degrees.
Yeah, this is another one. This is just like kilometers for me. I don't understand Celsius. When I look at a temperature in Celsius, I don't have any reference built into my mind at all. -3, like you could have told me that you'd be frozen into a block of ice, literally. Or you could have told me 2 degrees Celsius was like a hot summer day, and I would have believed you.
Celsius. However, if Canadians are baking or roasting something in their oven, we
What?
will measure things in Fahrenheit.
What?
Next, let's talk
What? Oh my gosh, it really does just depend on what you're doing. Just depends on what you're doing in Canada or what it is that you're measuring, and you'll use different units of measurement. That's very interesting. I guess when you get used to it, it's just normal. So for cooking, you could use Fahrenheit. Okay. And cups, possibly.
talk about length. Length means how long something is.
Okay, length, which you could argue is distance, which we already established is kilometers. But then we said height is in feet and inches sometimes. Now we have length, which is what?
This is an area where, again, most Canadians will actually use the imperial system.
Really?
For example, when I go to get a haircut, even if I say to the hairdresser, oh, please trim my hair about maybe 1.5 centimeters, 2 centimeters, she doesn't get it. Oh, about 2 inches? Yeah, sure, why not?
Huh.
Right? So most of the time we will measure the length of things, such as hair, in inches.
Really? What on earth? So basically, if a Canadian came to America, they would be fine because they would understand most of the imperial units that are used here, like inches and cups and stuff like that, and Fahrenheit. But if an American went to Canada, they would be completely lost for many, many things. That's basically what I'm getting here.
In terms of construction, we
Oh.
will use the imperial system.
Okay.
Sometimes I have helped with construction for making sets for theater companies, and if we need some wood, we might say, oh, we need to pick up some 2x4s.
Yeah.
Meaning wood that is 2 by 4 inches.
Right.
We wouldn't say we need so many centimeters by so many centimeters of wood. Now let's talk about area.
Oh.
So area basically means how much space would be inside this house. If I want to
Okay.
put furniture into this room, how much floor space do I have?
I feel like it's going to be square feet because a lot of the other things like this and construction have been in imperial units.
The majority of Canadians will measure it by square feet,
No.
not
Oh.
by square meters.
Oh,
Next,
Yes, I thought I was wrong. Okay. Not square me. Okay. Phew. Thought I was wrong. Yeah, I've never even really heard anyone ever say square meters. Ever. I think that's why I assumed it was square feet.
let's talk about shoe sizes. In Canada, my husband and I apparently have the same shoe size. However, if you look at our shoes and look at our feet, they are different sizes. My husband's
They
feet
are.
are bigger than mine. If we measured our feet by centimeters, which is what I used to do in Japan, my feet are approximately almost 24 centimeters, whereas my husband's feet are about 26 centimeters,
Okay.
2 centimeters bigger than me. However, when buying shoes in Canada, we both have size 7.5. If you're
What?
looking for shoes in Canada, we use the same shoe size as Americans do. So today,
I think I didn't even know that women's sizes were different than men's, and apparently you can have a larger men's foot and a smaller woman's foot, and their shoe size can be the same. I didn't even know that, but good to know, I guess.
you learned how Canadians measure things.
Yeah.
And now it's time for question of the day.
Oh.
Today's
okay.
question is, how do you measure things in your country?
Oh, I mean, we measure them in American units. That's what we do in American. No. We measure them in the imperial old way. And today I learned Canada kinda does that, but also knows a lot of the metric measurements as well, which is quite cool to kind of know both. It surprises me that it's a mixture. I had heard that, but just like the logistics and the practicality of it, I was thinking, really? Is it just random which measurement you use? And today I found out, yeah, it kind of is a little a little random, and does depend on when you were born and maybe where you live. So that's quite quirky, honestly. I wasn't expecting that. Anyway, this video was by Jens Yugyu, and I liked it. I liked it very much. This was kind of a complicated, kind of strange topic to try to teach, and I think she did a really, really nice job of it. I don't think I'm gonna remember every little thing, because, like I said, I didn't realize it was gonna be a combination. But I do remember that 1 mile equals 1.6 kilometers, roughly. So, if nothing else, I took that away today. Yeah, but seriously, this was good. I'm glad to finally have kind of cleared this up in my mind. Very interesting and informative. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, if you enjoyed this reaction, feel free to give it a like or leave a comment. And if you're interested in more videos like this, me reacting to Canada, Canadian culture, stuff about Canada I've never learned before, feel free to subscribe for more. And until then, thank you for watching, and see you next time.